Right, so in this video we are going to look at just the cross-validation example. Let me put the right color. Cross-validation on classification. So on classification problems, that's what we're just going to consider, because we have been talking about regression problems. And I was just looking through my previous video. When I talk about bias, what I'm talking about is just the variability. I'm talking about the variability in the error terms. I don't want to use the statistical terms, because when I use this the statistical terms, it might be confusing. I'm going to I use the statistical terms in the bonus videos, because I think that's where they belong. Here we're just doing an introduction, which is the high level stuff. There's an actual bias versus variance that is involved in the methods that we're discussing. But I didn't want to get into the bias variance. I was just using the bias as a generic term and not the actual the bias in the data versus the variance in the data. I didn't want to get into like the statistics. I was just using it as a general term that this one might be biased, this one is not. So if you pick that up and so that it's confusing, I don't mean it in the statistical terms. I was just using it as a generic term. So basically, yeah, in this video we're going to do the cross validation on classification problems, right? So far, when we're doing regression, what was our y? Our y was quantitative. That's what we had. Where the y that was quantitative, right? And this led to our regression problems that we are discussing. But then regression, and in regression setting, we measure our errors by the MSE. That is the one that we use to quantify the error. But cross validation can also be used in a classification setting when our y is qualitative. So something like yes or no, gender, those kind of things, right? So the only difference is, instead of using our MSE, like I emphasized in a couple of videos, instead of using the MSE to quantify the error, we'll use the number of misclassified observations, right? So for example, in our LOOCV, the error that we use to estimate the test error will now be given by 1 over n summation of I equal to 1 error I, and this error I is just the observations So if you classified many observations, this LOOCV error will be high, right? So basically that's what we're doing here. Instead of using the MSE, we just use the number of misclassified observations. That's just it. And the same applies for the k-fold error. Here we just have 1 over k. That's just it. That's what I wanted to emphasize. That instead of using MSE, we now use the misclassification error. That's just it. In the next video, we're going to get into the bootstrap, because here we're looking at cross-validation, the first part of resampling methods, which is cross-validation. In the next video, we're going to look at the second part of resampling methods, which is the bootstrap. So stay tuned for that video.